So you've done a lot of research and planning, but now you're sitting there wondering, how do you write effective body paragraphs for an argumentative essay? In this lesson, you will learn how to draft body paragraphs by introducing and explaining your evidence while using transitions between sentences and paragraphs. Let's review the steps for writing an essay. We started with choosing a topic, then we moved into finding evidence. We spent a lot of time on the planning, which then makes our drafting phase that we're currently in that much easier. Let's look at a common mistake that writers often make. It's that their body paragraphs do not build on each other in supporting the claim. So reasons should build on each other. One reason builds the next, so the claim is solidly on top of that foundation and is being supported. Well, if your reasons don't build on each other, you might end up with something like this, and the claim is then shaky. You do not want a shaky claim. You want the one that's on the left, not the right. So let's take a look at the steps that are going to help us build a solid body paragraph here. The first step, we're going to convert our boxes and bullets, which we already had planned for, to full sentences while explaining how the evidence supports the claim and the topic sentence. Then we're going to need to use transition words and phrases also to improve the flow, and then finally we're going to need to write a concluding sentence for the body paragraph. But this concluding sentence will actually tie that paragraph to the next one, and we'll see an example of that. So first I need to ask, how do I structure a body paragraph? Well, look at our boxes and bullets. Our major reason becomes the topic sentence. We have evidence, more evidence, more evidence, and finally our conclusion. Let's take a look at one of my boxes and bullets that I'd spent a lot of time prioritizing the information and such during the planning phase. Well, now I need to take each of these points and turn them into sentences. But how do I convert my evidence into meaningful sentences? Well, let's give a shot here. And this might take some time. Remember that writing doesn't happen right away. Sometimes it takes a lot of thought. Sometimes it takes multiple tries. How about this? Only 2% water on Earth is fresh water. And now that only 1% is able to be drank. Actually, you know where that 2% comes from? I got that from my intro paragraph. So I'm tying in information throughout. So I really like that. I'm pointing out how little of the water can be consumed by humans safely. And then finally, I'm going to try this one. Ooh, all right. Read along. You can pause if need be. I like that. Good. Now I'm going to do that with the rest of those. I'm going to put it all together, as you see. Pause if need be. But I need to ask, do all parts of my paragraph support the topic sentence? I'm going to say yes, and the reason I know this is because I took it straight from my boxes and bullets. During the planning phase, I already did that work. Now I just converted that. Everything's on point. Everything supports the topic sentence. Good. Then I'm going to need to ask this question. How do I use transitions to improve flow between sentences? Well, here's an example of this. Pause if need be. This seems especially dangerous when considering that. Now, that's a longer phrase, but it works. And then, in fact, there are actually... Ooh, there's a typo. I need to fix that capitalized T. I could do that during the revision phase. But, in fact, there are actually 10 African countries. All right, I like what I just did there. That helps the readability. That helps the flow. Then, finally, I need to ask this question. How do I write a concluding sentence? Sorry about that. How do I write a conclusion that will help lead in the next paragraph? I know the next paragraph is going to be about sanitation because my boxes and bullets and all the planning I put into it. So let's try this. In order to prevent disease in Africa, access to clean water must increase through improved sanitation. So I put a wrap on this paragraph and I lead into the next one. Let's review the steps. First, we had to convert the boxes and bullets to full sentences while explaining how the evidence supports the topic sentence. Then we needed to use transition words to improve flow, and finally write concluding sentence for the body paragraph. In this lesson, you learned how to draft body paragraphs by introducing and explaining your evidence while using effective transitions between sentences and paragraphs.